Welkom bij aflevering 171 van Satoshi Radio, de Nederlandstalige podcast waarin we je alles vertellen over cryptocurrency. Ik ben, zoals je hoort, gewoon Bartje Mol. En ik zit nog steeds in El Salvador. En jongens, ik had het voorrecht achteraf gezien om een heel speciaal gesprek te hebben met een speciaal persoon, Enrique Barrios. Dat is een tandarts uit San Salvador. En die is 17 jaar geleden voor zijn stage naar El Zonte vertrokken. En hij is eigenlijk nooit meer weggegaan, omdat hij zag dat eigenlijk de lokale bevolking hier geen toegang heeft tot dental care, geen toegang heeft tot de tandarts. En inmiddels runt hij hier zijn eigen tandartspraktijk, helemaal in zijn eentje. En hij bedient dus een gebied van ongeveer 12.000 mensen. Ja, dat is echt ongekend. En hij vertelde, we hebben over van alles gehad. We hebben het over El Salvador gehad, we hebben het over de cultuur gehad. We hebben het over geld gehad, we hebben het over de politiek gehad. En een klein beetje over Bitcoin. Dat vond ik eigenlijk nog het minst belangrijk. Van Bitcoin, daar hebben we het al 170 afleveringen over gehad. Daar weten we behoorlijk wat vanaf. Maar we weten eigenlijk helemaal niet zoveel over El Salvador. En daar zijn we 2 uur lang op ingegaan. Nou, ik vond het een fantastische aflevering. Ik heb echt veel geleerd van deze man. Een hele leuke spreker, praat goed Engels, kan zichzelf goed verwoorden. En een hele rustige, fijne persoonlijkheid. Dus ik vond het erg leuk. Ik hoop jullie ook. Dus ga er vooral naar luisteren. Wat ik nog even iedereen op wil roepen. Zoals sommigen misschien al weten is Enrique de tandarts die 1 bitcoin heeft opgehaald via een crowdfund-actie op www.bitcoinsmiles.org. Dat is opgezet door onder andere BTCP-server, die hebben hem daarmee geholpen. Ja, dat is... Aaron van Weerdem heeft erover getweet, heel veel anderen hebben dat geretweet. En inmiddels is er al 1,15 bitcoin binnen. Daarmee, met de eerste bitcoin, vertelde hij, gaan ze 50 mensen hier helpen om hun gebit te fixen. Mensen waar gewoon letterlijk alle tanden weggerot zijn, maar de helft nog wel in hun mond zit. Die krijgen nu een compleet kunstgebit eigenlijk. En krijgen voor het eerst in hun leven gewoon gaan voor het eerst in hun leven naar de tandarts letterlijk. 50 man en vrouw in totaal. Met die 0,15 die over is, vertelde hij me dat hij dental equipment gaat kopen. En dan vooral dental equipment die mobiel is, die je mee kan nemen. Dus als hij de bergen in moet, mensen die niet naar zijn praktijk kunnen komen, dat hij daar naartoe kan en dat hij die ook kan helpen. Dus ja, de actie is nog lang niet klaar eigenlijk. En ik heb hem al, dat zal je ook in de podcast horen, toegezegd dat al onze donaties die deze week gedaan worden, dus tot aflevering 172, de normale aflevering, die gaan we allemaal doorsturen naar Enrique. Hij staat nu op 1,15 en het zou super sick zijn als we dat omhoog kunnen duwen, jongens. Beslis dat vooral zelf. Luister eerst de podcast en bedenk dan of je het wat waard vindt. Maar ik vind van wel. Ik denk dat het een heel gaaf initiatief is en ik denk dat we op die manier of ik in ieder geval wat terug kan doen voor de manier waarop ik hier in El Salvador door de mensen ontvangen ben. Dus ik had al wat gedoneerd, ga het zeker nog een keer doen. En het zou leuk zijn als we als community hier volledig achter kunnen staan en gewoon een mooi bedrag op kunnen sturen. Het vette is dat Enrique ook, die vond het zelf ook leuk gelukkig. Die vond het heel tof om te horen dat er zoveel mensen geïnteresseerd zijn in zijn land, waar hij ook heel trots op is. De mensen die zijn hele trotse mensen. En dus hij gaat vaker in de podcast komen als onze reporter on the ground. Dus dat is wel heel gaaf. Eens in de zoveel tijd zullen we eens een keer opbellen en vragen hoe het gaat met de wet, hoe het gaat met het land en hoe het gaat met Bitcoin in El Salvador. Dus al met al een super toffe aflevering. Het is een extraatje. Ik hoop dat jullie het vet vinden. Natuurlijk wordt ook deze podcast, jongens, natuurlijk gemaakt. Mede mogelijk gemaakt door Anycoin Direct, Bitcoin Meester, Watson Law, Ledger Leopard, Bitfavo, Amdax, Vanek en Blocks. Natuurlijk, onze sponsoren ook hier in El Salvador. En ik hoop dat jullie ervan genieten. Laat het weten wat je ervan vond. Als je vragen hebt, laat het ook weten. Dan kunnen we ze weer voorleggen aan Enrique. En aanstaande donderdag zijn Bert en Peter gewoon terug met aflevering 172. Dan zou ik wel kijken wat ik dan weer toe ga voegen. Want ik wilde eigenlijk dit toevoegen. Alleen dat is een beetje uit de klauwen gelopen. Dus ik ga wel wat anders verzinnen. Ook daar laat het even weten wat jullie nog willen horen vanuit El Zonte. Dat was hem. Ik ga afscheid nemen van jullie. Geniet van het interview. En tot snel jongens. Adios. Later.
Okay. I'm Enrique.
Yeah.
I'm a Salvadorian, a doctor of dental surgery.
Yeah.
And I just practice in my small dental practice here in El Zonte.
Yeah.
And it's a small village here in the Pacific coast of El Salvador. I wanted to be a dentist since I was in a school, because I believed that dentistry was a career that could fulfill my life personally, that I could help people, and that I could at least survive, in the world and doing something honorable. So that's what I got the idea to become a doctor at first, but then I decided to become a doctor of dental surgery, and I love it. So I like it so much that I'm here working with everyone, in this small village. So I study digital dentistry, and I made some internships in implants as well. I had a chance to have studies in California, in Boston, and in the city of San Salvador and the country as well. I used to I studied dentistry in the public university, the only public university we have in the country, the University of El Salvador. And at the same time as well, I was studying marketing in another university at the same time. And I have experienced, and I used to work as a media broadcaster as well during 16 years. Television, radio, commercial shows, and things like that. But I used to be and always be, and I'm I will be a dentist for my whole life,
So where were you born?
Well, I born in San Miguel, that it's on the east side of the country, but I never lived there, so I have just 3 months old when my parents take me to the city of San Salvador. And since I have 6 months old, I live in the city of San Salvador. It's about 45 minutes from the place we are, at least by car and without a traffic situation, but it's you could tell it's pretty close to the main city or the capital, San Salvador. So yeah, I grew up in the city. I studied there, my school, my college, my university, I'm part of a family of 5, I'm the youngest person in my family, and now we are split, but normally we are in contact, but every one of us, it's doing our part in different locations in the world.
So you said you went to school and to university in San Salvador?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the school system in El Salvador?
Well, in my case, for example, I used to study in a private school, a Catholic school. And normally you have teachers from Spain or Italy, countries that they have priests here in a Catholic school where I used to study. It was or is one of the most great schools academically talking, but it's achievable for everybody. It's not what you think. It's everybody could go there, but it's you need to be academically well or ready or well prepared. Now I study there. It was the normal school, just made by mail, you know. Um, and it was a good thing, you know. We were like prepared. We've been taught many things that it made my life easy to understand. They show me like the key in order for me to realize or to achieve or to get whatever I could get in my life, you know, in a good way. So good values, you know, good academics. In that school, I started to learn English as well. It wasn't a bilingual school, but they taught you really good language, really good English, in order for you to develop at least a conversation or something else, you know. So I had a good school, you know. After my private school, you know, I just went to the public university, studying dentistry, and a private university studying marketing. But in the private one, I used to have a scholarship. So that's why I just get my degree there. At the public university, in dentistry, you are condemned, you know, to pay the major fee
Yeah.
in the university, because it's I believe that dentistry, it's like expensive career, you know, and it's just made for the top-notch technology you could get in a health career, things like that. But during 5 years, I used to have a scholarship as well. I became like the first student of a health career to get a scholarship in the public university. It's quite hard to get it,
Yeah.
but I just have it in that moment, and it helped me a lot, you know, to focus on my education and things like that. Normally, like we have 14 departments in our country. We are in La Libertad, in one of the most developed like departments we have in the country. And normally, every town or a small town has a school, a small school, a tiny school, or something like that. Where we are right now, at least I know that we have 4 small schools in the area, but you have till 8th or 9th grade there. So for you to get the bachelor of something or to finish your elementary school, you have to move from this town to the next beach town, for example, to continue your school. We have a lack of education, to say something, you know. We are a developing country, as like they call us, but we have pros and cons in our developing, I consider, you know.
So what, like if you had to choose one or two things, like what is lacking in the educational system as of now?
It's about the quality academically talking, or the quality of like concentration teachers and students have as well. You know, we have a bunch of problems about infrastructure as well. You know, we have malnutrition in our kids, you know. We have like lack of several situations that make our education lack of different things sometimes, you know. If you like, if we could like check the education as like a whole, or like a holistic approach, body, mind, spirit, you know, I consider we have lack of something in one of them at least, you know. And it's like could decrease your weight, how you are being educated in this country, you know. I don't know if I'm explaining.
No. I so to recap, you're basically saying there are just like some basic things that you need in life are missing or lacking, which leads to worse education.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And are kids also supposed to work?
Yes. Normally, in a country like El Salvador, if you don't have education, or normally you get rid of your education sometimes because you are a rebel, or your parents don't have like the money or at least the will to send you to school, because they don't have like a proper job, or they don't have a good salary, they don't have education as well. Maybe they don't know how to read or how to write. So sometimes they condemn the same path to their kids. And in order to survive, or if you don't study, you have to work. And the easy way to work here in the country, it's like going to work in the countryside, for example, a construction worker, working as a housekeeper in the city. It's like, it's inadequate jobs sometimes, with a low salary, and it's like pushing you at the most in order to work, So it's like, it's the way it is. Even if you are a kid or a young person or adolescent or anything, you have to work in order to survive.
Yeah. So if you look back at your own childhood in San Salvador, can you tell us a little bit how that was, and how living in the city was compared to the countryside maybe as well?
Yes, I grew up in San Salvador. For example, San Salvador. Well, I'm gonna start again. I had a happy childhood. I was the youngest of 3 brothers. We grew up with skateboarding. We grew up with football. I consider myself part of a middle-class family in that moment. We were in the middle of the Civil War as well. So
at what time? Or 19?
Yeah, the Civil War, like the main Civil War, was between 1979 till 1992.
Yeah.
So it was from my 0 years till my 12 years.
Yeah, because you were born in
1980.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And in 1980, El Salvador has many issues and many life-changing situations that make the Civil War like our daily life. In a daily basis life, we have like war, that it was a savage war. We lost many brothers and sisters. We had a lot of violence, like violations of human rights as well. A war, it's like the meaning of war, it's like pretty hard to understand. We live at first hand about the Civil War. So we are a confrontative country, we have a lot of confrontation sometimes. We are polarized in sports and politics and even in our neighborhood, So it's like part of our nature. I just remind about having a happy childhood, but it was full of bad news, violence, like natural disasters. We are the country of the smile, but we are the valley of the hammocks as well, because it's earthquaking every day, even if you don't feel it, And our geographic position, our economic profile, make us vulnerable. So that's what I said. We have like pros and cons about where we are located or what we represent as a country. our skills and our situation, you know. So it was basically a happy childhood, but for sure we struggle, you know. The minimum salary here in the country right now, it's $300. Normally you could find a family of five.
Like per month, to be...
Per month,
yeah.
yes. So, and our basic, like, access to basic needs, it's approximately to $500. You know, you earn 300 in a minimum wage, but you have to spend 500 in order to maintain your family. So it's like pretty hard, you know. And we struggle with like electricity in that moment, curfews, you know, and sometimes like the transportation wasn't that good, you know. So even in the middle of the struggle, at least we had a chance, you know, as like people having at least going to school, a warm dish of food in your table, you know, or at least in that moment, like a family together, you know.
So during a war, like if you have to explain it to someone that has never experienced anything close to it, like me and like a lot of people in the Netherlands as well, almost everyone. My grandmother, she is the one, she experienced the bombing of Rotterdam, of her city, right? So, but that was like her generation is the last generation that experienced war.
It's true.
So if you would, I mean, not explain it to someone, but what is like for you the biggest difference between that situation and normal situation? Like, because you said you're still going to school, people are still working.
Yeah. We try to continue our normal lives, you know, but talking about the war, and personally, I could tell that almost every Salvadoran has a person who flew away from the civil war, you know, in this case going to the United States, looking for a better chance, looking for access to a job or money, and help the people that was in that moment back in the country. At least every one of us has a family member or a friend or a close person that were killed in the war, you know, so it was like pretty sad. Our cities were destructed, you know. Our moral was like really low, you know. We had like obstacles, you know. We barely have food, you know. We barely have access to basic needs, you know.
So what gives hope in such an environment? Like, what keeps you going?
The name of El Salvador is like pretty hard, you know. El Salvador means like the savior in English, but there's like a quote or a saying that good things and bad things happen here because El Salvador, or the savior, has a house here. So that's why it's so like disruptive here. And we're like a religious country, to say. It's like Catholicism or God in this case, and Jesus Christ play a huge role in our country. So El Salvadoran, it's like from the mind that he's never going to give up. He has to be the best in the crowd, that like a desire or wish to survive and prevail, you know, trying to see your family achieve something, you know, the sacrifice in order to get a new beginning, you know, the resilience of being hit, or the resilience to be like a a country that suffers so much, I think it's making the Salvadoran like prevail no matter what.
So is that resilience the biggest characteristic of an El Salvadoran?
I could say yes, because
are there others as well? Like other characteristics? Like that's the main one, but are there...
They are hard workers, We have like the characteristic that we are hard workers, no matter what. And if we don't know how to do something, we pretend that we could do it, And if we couldn't do it, we are like always like open to learn and to make it happen, So yeah, resilience is one, the hard workers, it's other, and normally people say that we don't export nothing, not like good or service, but we used to export our main population, our skills, our professionals, are people that could do something better for this country. That was what we were exporting, mostly. And because of the lack of opportunity here, it was like full of obstacles, And since the war, for examples that I have, like I remind about my life, it was since the Civil War, And always like always pursuing like a better day, not even a better life, but maybe just a better day than the day before, So that makes us just, as I said, hard workers, trying to prevail at all costs, and that's it. And like the wish or the desire to see our country like in better shape.
And the end of that war was 30, almost 30 years ago.
Yes, it was in 1992, where like the country were polarized. It was a savage war. We lost approximately 100,000 people among civilians and army and guerrilla people. The peace treaty that was signed between the army and the guerrillas.
Because those were the two parties fighting with each other.
Yes. Yeah. So in 1992, after like, how do you call them? They were like trying to, they have talks about and considering the ending of the war, So in 1992, they signed a peace treaty between the government that it used to be the alt-right,
There was a military side?
Sure. We could say even death squads as well, So, it was like the military side and against the guerrillas, that it was part of the Communist Party, and that wave of people that try to make their voice being heard, but they didn't have the chance, the opportunity, full of obstacles, that the only way for them in order to be heard was taking the weapons like a military fight, So they signed a peace treaty between these two parties, the guerrilla, the left and the right, and with under three conditions, one was like the guerrillas has to get rid of their weapons, and the second condition was like the police, it's going to be demilitarized and it has to become a civilian police. And the third condition, it's let the guerrillas became a political party in order to run for the presidency here and try to make the revolution through democracy and not through weapons, So since 1992, we have a peace treaty. A lot of people say that we are the country of peace and that we have peace since that moment. But no, we have the post-war that even nowadays it's like part of what we are constructing right now.
Yeah. So let's say starting from 1992, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the point where the war on paper ended and where the democracy started. So like who got power for the next years? Like what happened? Like how I would like to cover like the 30 years between 1992 and now, because a lot of things happened, right?
Yes. Since 1988, and part of this peace treaty was the alt-right, and the same people were in power till 4 years ago. Well, 3 years ago. The current president has 2 or 3 years, if I don't know if I'm wrong right now. But yeah, the last 30 years were part of that democracy that it began with these two political parties, you know, that were involved in the civil war.
So, I mean, can we do a short summary of both parties?
Yes.
Just for our listeners, like what are we? Because for your information, like in the Netherlands we have 10, 15 parties.
Yeah.
Like we really have a lot of different parties, and here we're talking about two like polar opposites.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
between both of them, they have 30 years in charge of the government. So since 88 was the alt-right. 5 years later,
and that's Arena, right?
Arena.
Yeah.
Alianza Republicana Nacionalista. Arena. They were in charge 20 years. 5 different presidents, you know. And after that, the left party take charge 2 periods.
And what's the name of
10 years FMLN. FMLN. Farabundo Martí para la Liberación Nacional.
Yeah.
That they were like the guerrillas, you know.
Yeah, so when they put down the weapons, they became this party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a political party, FMLN. FMLN were like a bunch of like 3 political parties more. The Communist Party. I don't remember right now the name, but Frente Salvadoreño de Liberación. It's like many of them, maybe 3 or 4, that like integrates the like FMLN. Yes. Yeah. So again, it's like we have 5 presidents from the alt-right, and then they alternate with the first one that it was part of the left party.
And it was in 2009.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the second period of the FMLN in front of the government. Yes. Yeah. So between both parties, they were in charge the last 30 years. Before that, we have like military dictatorships, you know. So we have like a bunch of history about military and polarizing parties like in charge of our democracy. Yeah, to say something.
So and then
I remember like 2 of these presidents were like at jail, you know, the alt-right presidents. And the other guys are like involved in shady situations as well.
Yeah.
You know, the Civil War like made a bunch of stuff that were shady, you know, from businesses till the rules we have in our democracy as well, you know.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit about about the democracy. Like, how does you have a president, you have judges,
Yes.
and you have a parliament, right? It's like a
Yes.
tree. It's like a triangle
Yes.
almost.
Legislativo,
Mm-hmm.
ejecutivo, y judicial. Yeah, the three main
Yeah, because
parts
I
of our democracy.
I want to discuss that because I think it's quite important also when we get to the current situation.
Yes.
Because things are like, we talked about 30 years
Yes.
and a lot of things happened there.
Yeah.
And that ended, I wrote it down like a few years ago, of course, like like 2019.
Yeah.
So let's first set the scene on how it works, and then we can move on to what happened in 2019, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what is the role of the president? Like the function of president in El Salvador?
Well,
If you have the president and the parliament, right?
it is supposed that the president it's independent from the parliament or the Congress, and it's independent from the judges, right? So normally the president has power, but needs to be allowed or need to have a permission
Yeah.
from at least the Congress, you know?
So, and how is the Congress different than the parliament?
It's like the same.
Ah, yeah,
Parliament
okay,
or
yeah.
the Congress.
Yeah, that's okay.
call
We were
it's
talking
like
about the same. Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So we used to have like a balanced parliament.
Yeah, because there are 84
Yeah,
seats
84
in the parliament.
seats,
Yeah.
you know.
And they are just to see if I'm correct. And those are inhabited by the two parties.
Yes, and 3 more parties as well. So
Smaller
Yeah,
parties,
smaller parties that they used to have more people in the Congress, but not anymore since they elected this president, this current president. You know, so it used to be mainly polarized or handled by the left. Well, these two parties we've been talking about. And other smaller, but not much like weight on the decisions what they are having, you know. So right now, like the Congress, it's like, how can I say, it's really close to the president. You know, they have absolute majority with just people from their party.
Yeah.
They changed like the judges as well.
Yeah, so maybe let's start at the beginning.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's complicated and it's really important, basically.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the current president, we're talking about Nayib Bukele.
Yeah.
Do I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, it's correct.
Oh, okay, it's Bukele.
Bukele.
Yeah, Bukele.
Yeah.
Just I think for a lot of people in the Netherlands, like, really interesting. They're really interested. Like, who is this guy? Like, he's young. He is using Instagram. He is wearing baseball caps. He's wearing leather jackets. He is on Twitter, and he's not on Twitter because he has to, but because he thinks it's fun in a sense. Like, where did this story start of this guy?
Well, this guy, it's like, I think it's in his 40s.
Yeah.
He is young, you know. He used to be the mayor of a place where I used to live, where my family used to live, you know. That it's like a tiny, small town in the city, but it's a developed area because it's full of people that could like afford a good life, to say something, even if it's part of a small village and an impoverished community or rural communities. But he started there. I met him as a part of another political party. He used to be part of the left party. you know.
Yeah, so that was the FMLN.
FMLN.
Yeah.
FMLN. He used to be part of them, you know, and he like run for mayor of this place under the flag of FMLN. After 20 or more years that the town was in charge of the alt-right, was in charge of Nayib Bukele, that he did a nice job. You could check, and it was like a tangible, what you perceive what he did with the small town. So he put like in the target of like the public, like, and the media and the information of the country, this is a small town, and the work what he was doing there, you know. So he did a good job, to say something.
And what are some examples of the things that he did?
It's like you could perceive a cleaner area, you could perceive a more secure area, you could perceive that you have a better access to water, to potable water, you know. You could perceive like your taxes were like working in a good way, you know. So you could perceive that the small town, it's in a better shape. You know. I consider that this could be a work or a job that any governor or mayor could do before, but they didn't do not even the basic things, you know. So this guy came, and you could perceive that maybe he is doing things different, and believe that it's like tangible the way your taxes are working, and like the help he could provide it in that moment to the rural areas that quite being forgotten, you know. So you could like get that he is doing things differently in this moment. He is a millionaire, you know. He owns maybe several businesses for sure. They said he has no career at university, for example. It doesn't mean that he cannot, you know, do something, but it's part of what he shows he was doing, you know. And he became really popular, you know. He was running as well an advertising like company. We know that this company was like working for other governments as well, providing media, advertising, things like that, you know. So he looks like a guy from the new wave of young people, you know, that could do something better for our country, that never had a chance or had lack of chances, or that it wasn't working with all the power that we could have, you know. So then, because of the popularity he has, or he had in that moment, he runs for being a mayor of the major city we have here, that it's San Salvador.
And it was still for the FMLN?
Yes.
Yeah.
And after this, I think, it was from the same party. But once there, as a mayor of San Salvador, had a few like situations with his own party, you know, that it's like starting to show that he is like becoming independent from even the decisions or the way his body was working in that moment. So it's like taking like a small step besides them and like creating its own path, you know. So basically he did that, you know. And once there, since he was starting in this small village, he created his trademark, you know. So since that moment, he was like trying to promote in himself, you know, trying to promote in his like work, their community work, the changes that he was like provoking in the small town, that he could like provoke in the whole country, you know. So he started to sell the idea that he could be like the savior or the best option in a polarized country, talking about political parties or the democracy that we have in that moment.
So then he became mayor of San Salvador?
He became mayor of San Salvador, and when you are in that chair, you know, it's like a platform for you. If you are a mayor of San Salvador, it's like pretty much everybody pretty much know that you are going to run for the presidency as well in the near future.
Next step.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the things that he did in the small town, was he able to replicate that in San Salvador? Or?
Yes. He replicated this in San Salvador, and the same way, the same path, people start to believe and think, and it's tangible for them that he's doing things that the people it used to be there never do nothing, you know, but at least him is doing things that you perceive that he's doing something for the country, you know. And it's like
so can you give some examples, like what did he do in San Salvador that really...
Well, every change had like major like situations, you know, good and bad things in order to change something. But one thing that he was like showing off that he made, it was like making downtown, like he recovers downtown, you know, that it was crowded or full of like people like trying to make things for a living, you know, and like poor people like trying to sell their stuff, small businesses. It was like not in shape, you know, and like full of the territory was occupied by other people that doesn't have permission to be there. It was kind of like not in shape town, you know.
You wouldn't recommend me going there?
Not everyone, you know. So in that moment, people didn't want to go there. When they said, "Oh, I have to go downtown," it means like a lot of traffic, crowded, packed, you know, quite like dangerous, things like that, you know. As a foreigner, I consider never bad is going to happen to you, but like in every part of the world, you need to be aware of what you are doing or where you are. You know, but one of the major things I could consider he shows off, it was like he recovers downtown. It's like a beautiful square, you know. It used to be a place made to walk, you know, and now it's crowded by cars and things like that. So he recovers like the downtown and the main places of this area. And he's like pimping, you know, the city, and showing that everyone that it's a place for you to visit. It's a place for you to be proud of.
I also heard that he like opened a park.
Sure.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
Is that like that's like one of the examples of like pimping the city, basically,
yes, pimping
right?
the city, and in this case, like showing that he's like providing opportunities for young people or people that has nothing in that moment, you know? One of the things that he is showing off as well, it's called the cube. That it's a cube that includes, it's a structure, a big structure where they include like a small library, computers, you know, like a place that you could like access to art or internet connection. It's a part of a good thing, you know, like trying to make opportunities for people that doesn't have chances. So things like that, he was talking about providing a skateboard or promoting people that make graffitis as well, not trying to check or see these people as delinquents or people that it's like making vandalism or something. It's just like the art of art nowadays. But now he is requiring 20,000 recruits for the army. So what happened with the skateboards? Or what happened with the opportunity for education? Now he is wanting and offering young people to have a military career, So sometimes it's like...
Yeah, because you're talking about now. So that implicates that there was one important event in between him as a major of San Salvador and now, like he became president in 2019. So how can you recall how that went? Like, what was the feeling in the country? And
the thing is that we used to have presidents that they have malservice. They were like totally corrupted and for sure underprepared to be there. So I consider he was like a fresh person in the political situation, in the political pitch. Fresh, young, seems to be well prepared, seems to handle the media, a charismatic leader, things like that. So he just like take advantage, I consider, from the how can I say this, from the these people were ignorant, underprepared. They don't know what they were doing, how it's like
he had a plan.
What's the word that I want to use? They were mediocre.
Yeah.
So he maybe take advantage of the mediocrity these people were.
Yeah, like the previous presidents.
Whole time. Yes.
Yeah.
All of them, So he could perceive that he take advantage about the mediocrity of these political parties, and he's just showing off that he could do better things than them, for sure.
And like when they were running for president, like the right party probably had a candidate, and the left party, and then Bukele.
Yeah.
Like, did people actually think he was going to... Were the other parties afraid? Did they take him seriously? Or
sure, they were quite afraid. They started to push and provoking, like, even malinformation, or things like that, in order to make him, look bad, and that he was too young to become a president, that he doesn't know because he has no career, that he just wanted to do or provoke chaos in the democracy, So the political parties started to creating misinformation and attacking him. And he was selling himself as the real savior or the real person that could provoke a huge change.
Yeah, because his party is actually called New Ideas, right?
Yes, New Ideas.
And how do you pronounce it in
Nuevas Ideas. So showing that he has new ideas and that he's not going to work the way the old political parties work. I mean, full of corruption, full of deals, full of or lacking of even class, or public service, It's it was like a clown world we're living in with our politicians, So he sell himself like the option, the only option we have in order to get rid of the political parties that make us suffer so much. So people perceive him as the only option. People got tired of lies and corruption and all the money they steal, and they felt like they weren't reliable anymore. So that's why they said they vote like punishing the old political parties and giving the total support to this guy. So that's why he had like a massive triumph, and a few months later he has like a massive triumph as well in the Congress with new people.
So because when he won the presidency,
yes,
but at that point he didn't have his own party in the parliament or in the Congress.
No, not yet.
So he was like, at that point, like what can a president do without support of
nothing?
Yeah,
nothing. He's going to find a polarized Congress.
Yeah, because they have to support the law.
Sure,
right?
and
or the bills.
everything that he could trying to make it happen, he's going to be blocked by the Congress. You know, because they are not like friends, or they don't support him. You know, they were part of the old political parties. So he understand, I think, that he's going to have obstacles in order to govern the country. So now he started to fight against the political parties, and trying to pursue them, and pursue all the corruption and all the things that happened before he was in charge. But what about his house as well? It's full of, we believe as well, and we are not sure. I couldn't say that I'm sure, but it's pretty heavy that it's shady people, it's part as well of what he is doing as well. So it's people that it's maybe there, maybe in another level than him, that it's supporting or being an obstacle for him. Both, pros and cons for him in charge, So he started to attack, to say something and to show the bad things they did, so, and trying to pursue his enemies. At least rivals in the political pitch.
And that worked because there were also votes for the parliament, and he had a big victory as well.
Yes, he has the majority.
That was in 2020, 2000.
Yeah, it was. They took charge a couple of months ago.
The parliament
on May. Yes, the new parliament take charge.
Yes, and he is around 55.
Yes, and with the support of the other political party, he ran for the presidency.
Yeah.
He has more than 64. So it's
of 84.
Yes.
So that basically means that you can pass any law.
That's why any law, any change that he is provoking or planning, it's having an immediate acceptance in the Congress, so he could deal with what he want to deal.
Yeah, because that brings us to the third part of the triangle. We covered the president, we covered the parliament, Congress, and that leaves it with the judges. What are we talking about here? Is that how many judges are there, and what do they do?
Normally, we thought as well that the judges are are like, how can I say? It's like they are not good at all. You know, you have like bad situations in every part. So judges, we have mediocre judges and good judges. You know, but now he passed a law that it's going to retire judges that they just have 60 years old. Maybe they just have 20 or 30 years working, and they are like, to say something, in better shape of their careers. But he passed the law that it's making them retire. So with these people retire, he is planning to give or to put the judges that are like
and then we're talking
closer to his ideals. You know?
And then we're talking about like the Supreme Court judges,
sure,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He removed all the Supreme Court and put others.
Yeah. Yeah. Put
Normal,
others in.
yes.
Yeah.
And he removed the attorney, the general attorney as well, and he put other.
Yeah. And like, what does the general attorney do in El Salvador? Like, what is the?
It's like the one who could accuse you or save you in any legal situation here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the government body basically, that if you do a crime or whatever, steal something, then they will start the lawsuit against you. Yeah, okay.
Or you
clear.
could go there and you want to accuse someone. You don't know if they are acting like with morality or something like that. They could create anything, good or bad, you know. So, but he removed like the Supreme Court, the main people, and he is retiring as well judges that are part of the Supreme Court as well on a daily basis, but that they are still in shape to continue their work, you know.
And that basically brings us to, literally this week, when the news came out that, there was a report about an extra term, because the president in El Salvador can only serve one term, and I think that's 4 years or 5.
It's 5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
So because in the Netherlands, for instance, it's a bit different, but our current prime minister is like in his, on top of my head, his third term, so that's already like 10 years. In Germany, there's Angela Merkel. She is retiring, but she was also for, I think, more than 10 years.
Yes.
United States is 2 terms of 4 years.
It's 8 years, yeah.
Yeah, so El Salvador is different in that sense.
Yeah, it's 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, so you cannot be re-elected after those 5 years.
Yeah.
But if there is another president and you want to run again, you could do it after one.
Yeah. So what was the what was the news about this week?
It's about he is allowed, or he has a green light to be re-elected.
And who gave the green light?
It's like the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and that was the newly elected.
Yes, and it's like a decision that it's coming from the Congress as well. So it has like the support of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
The new Supreme Court. The new Congress people.
Yeah.
And they said that it's like the people decision.
Yeah.
You know, but it's mainly they are provoking this, and they want to make a consultation as well about being re-elected or having one more year, not just 5 years, but 6.
Mm-hmm.
But the news, as I understand, it's like he has green light to be re-elected or looking for a re-election in the country. Yes. The main idea, it's like that he needs time, his party needs time, or his projects need time for him in charge, to be in charge, to achieve, you know.
I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yes, but it's like the way he is like trying to show that he needs more time. So a re-election of the same figure could help him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered that one.
It's the way we understand it.
Yeah.
Because he never said publicly that he's going to be run to be a re-elected, you know. But he has green light.
Yeah. Yeah, it would also be pretty. It would not really be a strategic decision. I mean, he has like 3 years to go or something, right?
Yes.
So there's no need for him at this point to really put his slam his fist on the table and say, "I want more."
In the next elections.
I mean, he can also do that in 3 years or 2 years.
Yes.
So what I also wanted to ask you is, I think we covered quite a lot of the political system.
Yeah.
But what I also think is really important in this story, because we're also we're recording a Bitcoin podcast, so somewhere in the story we're moving to Bitcoin. But I think this is way more important to understand the country, so that we can also understand how Bitcoin can maybe make a difference or not. In which cases it can, in which cases it cannot. And I think one really important part of that story to understand, and I would really love your opinion about that and a little bit of history, is that El Salvador is using the dollar.
Yes.
Since
2001.
Yeah, so you actually were in your 20s already.
Yes.
So you fully experienced the change from the old currency to the new one. So I would just want to start to ask the question, how did that felt at the time? What was the situation? Can you describe why why it happened basically?
Wow, we hadn't had a consultation about it. It was a president, part of Arena, part of the alt-right, that in that moment they started to talk about the bimonetarism, or having two currencies at the same time. We used to have the Colón, el Colón Salvadoreño. Colón is coming from Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
So we used to have the Colón. In 2001, they started to privatizations. You know, they made private the banks. In this case, for the dollar, they make private the communications. You know, that they used to be from the state. So in 2001, they just take the decision that El Salvador is going to adopt the dollar currency in order to create or to maintain the macroeconomy of the country in a stable way. You know, in that moment as well, they were dealing the TLC, we call it, el Tratado de Libre Comercio. It's the free commerce treaty between the United States and El Salvador and Central America, you know. So in order to be or to have a solid currency in exportation, importation, and create a solid and stable currency, we adopt the dollar. We never had a consultation. We never voted for it. It just was imposed by the government in that moment that you could use both currencies. But the thing we had, it just a radical dollarization here. And the colon started to get rid of it. You know, they just take the colon out of circulation, and if you go since the 0 hours from 2001, the ATM it's going to throw you dollars, you know. So we were imposed, and we need to adapt in this moment. The change, it's $1 is equal to 8.75 colones. So imagine in that moment we used to have like a pound of tomatoes at 5 colones. With the dollarization, we used to pay $1 for the same pound, and it doesn't cost to us $5 anymore. It costs $8.75. So it doubled the prices of our basic needs. It increased the electricity bills. It increased like decreased the possibility to get a bank account because you weren't like allowed to do it. You didn't like classified as a.
So what were the? What do you need to classify for a bank account, or what did you need at that time?
Well, to be to have like a formal job, you know. But in our country, we have a lot of informal jobs, you know. So it's the opposite, you know. And at least have like more than 1 year to work in a stable job. Maybe have like the minimum wage, you know. But if you are better, it's easy for you to get a bank account or a credit card or access to a loan, for example. You know?
So. Like how many people in El Salvador actually have a bank account?
Not much people. Maybe
still not?
35% of people, total population.
So right now 65% don't have a bank account. They basically all so those 65% they don't save probably.
No, they don't save nothing at all. They have to use the money. They have to spend the money for basic needs, you know. As normally the minimum wage is 300, and the basic spendings you have to take care every month, it's 500. So you are in a negative like balance all the time. You need the paper. You need to pay for your rent. You need to pay for your water, electricity bills. Normally, they don't have sexual education, so maybe they could get 3, 4, 5 kids, you know. Things like that, you know. Imagine about like the monthly like fees they have to pay at the school. Transportation, it's increasing, you know. And that takes us to the community. It's like if you don't have enough money to survive by yourself, imagine a family of 5, you are not eating well, you know. You have lack of nutrition, you have like plenty of problems, you know. You struggle month by month,
day by day, maybe
day by day for sure. So it's like it's pretty hard, you know. So basically 65% that they don't have a bank account, they don't have education, they don't have a formal proposal of work, you know, and they are part of the informal people or informal jobs that we have in the country.
But
paying taxes, it's not an option as well. No.
But do those people, do they have access to mobile phones or internet, or?
They have access to smartphones nowadays, you know. And internet, not so much. There are areas that they have like a proper connection or a proper internet connection,
like fiber,
or a decent one, you know, maybe in the downtown or metropolitan area, for sure, you know, but not much other like places.
Like the rural areas, right?
Rural areas, it's like quite hard to have an internet connection. Or maybe you could have internet on your phone, on the net, but in these rural or remote areas, it's quite hard to get access to the signal, for example. So it's not like how do you call it? It's not solid.
Yeah, it's not reliable.
So much. Yeah.
So those people, like, I'm actually really curious. So, like, their informal work, they earn dollars cash.
Yes.
So they also pay their rent in cash. They pay everything in cash.
Yes, mostly.
So that's for the 65%, and then you also have 35% that actually have a bank account.
Yes.
But I still have the idea that still a lot of things are paid in cash, also for the 35%.
Yes. Everything, These people normally could have access to a credit card.
Yeah.
But you need like cash for the market. You need cash for transportation, buses. You need money or cash for daily food. Here it's like you have the money, you spend it. It's like you just got the money, but you already owe it. Normally you owe 15 days or 2 weeks of rent because you don't have the money in that moment, So it's like you have the money, you have to use it.
Yeah.
There's no much chance for you to save, There is not much chance for you to do or to plan wonderful things or massive things, in your future. It's like a struggle situation. For example, even people like me, the poor conditions are not just in the rural areas. Now it's urban areas as well that it's like suffering like the disadvantages of being immersed in a place with lack of situations, things, or opportunities.
Yeah. So, do you have examples, or what are those things you're talking about?
Oh, how come?
I mean, like you're saying, it's not only in the rural areas; it's also.
Oh yeah.
But is it electricity, or is it food, or
Yeah, it's increasing at a slow rate, but it's increasing. It's crazy the prices you could get in a supermarket here. It's similar to the United States. The electricity, it's quite expensive, even in the place we are here right now. It's surrounded by rural areas and developing areas, but the electricity, it's quite expensive, more than the city, for example.
So you're basically saying the prices of basic needs are going up.
Yeah, the gas, it's going up. We have an increase in the minimum salary or in the minimum wage here in the country a couple of months ago, but they just at the same time they increase the prices
even more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we are in an endless game, That
and do you know why the prices are increasing?
It's like they are the inflation of the money. The World Bank, it's broken, and we are in a dynamic as well with the dollar currency, So it's the inflation of the currency. It's provoking the inflation of prices here as well.
And are politicians talking about it? Are economic experts talking about it? Or what are people in the country saying about? What are the experts saying?
Well, the experts.
And what should El Salvador do?
Yeah, normally experts talk about that this is just a temporary situation. They talk about that they are going to be balanced in the near future, that it's gonna take more risks, but we are going to be stable later, They talk about that we could have access to other chances, economically talking about, but we normally don't see what the opportunities or the chances are.
Yeah.
You know, they said that the world is increasing in inflation and that we are part of that, so
Yeah.
we have to suffer it, but we are going to find like a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, honestly, like they did introduce Bitcoin.
Yes. So in this case, they introduced this, that it's supposed, like the essence of we understand about it, it's like a decentralized thing, an anonymous thing, that you could be your own bank, that if you are unbanked, you know, now you have the chance to get access to goods and services
Yeah.
with this, you know. So in that case, the normal economic people, or the people that who is in charge of the economic, are opposing for this. You know, it's like they are like defending their own priorities, you know, or their own game, you know, and telling that this is not going to work as well, so that we need to continue rule by dollar,
Yeah.
and to continue to rule with the economic as the way we know it, you know. And that's why we have a lot of malinformation, misinformation, disinformation. I don't know, it's full of things that
So those are the experts, right? The economic expert. But I'm also really curious, like your friends, your family, like what do they like? What do the normal El Salvadorians like? What do they think, or do they even care about it? Like,
well, as I notice, as I see,
or the people in your clinic, of
there
course,
is-
you speak a lot of people.
yes,
Yeah.
there is a lot of skepticism. One, two, there is a lot of people that doesn't want to be involved with this. Talking about colleagues in my career, talking about family, talking about neighbors, talking about people that used to support the president and they don't support anymore because of this law. Others because of misunderstanding. Others because they have lack of knowledge about it and lack of interest in know what's going on. So it's like a biased situation right now. So not much people are really interested in what's going on. For example, in my case, I was trying to find a dental supplier, you know, or friends and colleagues or shops that could accept Bitcoin in this case, and they don't want to. They said, no, we are going to continue with the dollar. Other people providers, you know, they are saying that they don't want to get Bitcoin. They want to continue with the dollar. And really, you could call them like square people, that they are not going to be out of their idea. They say
Right.
that this is just for the rich. They say that this is just for a few. They said that it's part of Machiavellic plan, you know, but normally El Salvadoran first had an opinion without knowing what is going on, you know. So,
Is that because because of all the years of corruption, war, everything, that they're like skeptic, and that they're like,
sure, they said it's more of the same.
Yeah.
They said it's like all the time and every year we
So-
just heard about, now, right now it's the moment, now it's going to happen, but never happened in the last 40 years. for
so
example.
what do they want? Or
It's what we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they block. They are like acting and being an obstacle for things like this, but they don't propose nothing, you know. So it's like they are numb, they are inactive, and it's not people that they are going to promote or propose things, you know, in order to improve our country. But normally they talk from like the unknown, the lack of preparation, lack of information, and skepticism, fear sometimes to something new. And for sure, it's like they just want dollars. Yeah. They think this is something that it doesn't exist, you know. So for them, it has to be a coin or a tangible thing to have a value, you know.
Why do you
but
think?
Sometimes
because they can store it themselves.
Yes, that's the thing.
The funny thing is actually that is one of the core capabilities of Bitcoin, right? You can also, I mean, the whole idea is to store it yourself, just like cash. But it's the fact that you can't hold it,
that
can
you
see
have it in your pocket, you know,
yeah.
and that's like, oh, I'm powerful.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't get, or they don't like think or realize that they could have $100 bill, but it has no value, you know. Maybe it's a $10 value, but you have $100 bill, for example.
So do you just think it needs time or education or people that are going to show Bitcoin, or to like how do you see the next year, next 2 years? Like does Bitcoin actually have a chance in El Salvador, or?
I think we have a chance. We never had like a clear opportunity in the recent decades to think that we could do something better than we keep been doing, you know. It's a clear opportunity for the unbanked to have access for goods and services. It's an opportunity for people to be their own bank, to be responsible for what they are doing in their lives, to know and to learn about the value of money, you know, and like to believe in themselves, for sure, and in order to achieve things that maybe it's just a dream, you know. I think it's tangible the way Bitcoin could work, but you mentioned fear, not having knowledge, skepticism, you know, and things. We just need education, for sure. All ages, and even the people that it's like learning need to learn more and to show the information or show the knowledge as well. And about education, we need time. Normally when we started with the dollar as well, people were the same, skeptical. They were like confused about doing the transactions and how much is in dollars and how much is in colones.
The conversion.
So it's the way it is right now. They said, oh, how many Satoshis? Oh, wow, this is like confusing. But they know that they are handled their own account in dollars as well. So it's like about being informed and take some interest in it and being educated. And I think in 2 years this is going to be a massive currency, you know. It's going to be the use of Bitcoin, it's going to be massive.
Yeah, because we touched a little upon digital payments. Like Bitcoin gives unbanked people a digital bank account, but even for the people with a bank account in El Salvador, so am I correct that the credit card is the only way in El Salvador to pay online and to pay in a store not using cash?
Sure, it's a credit card.
Yeah. my point is, like, in the Netherlands, for instance, we don't use credit cards. We have them for on holiday most of the times, but we can use with Apple Pay. We have all kinds of different payment options. We have debit cards. We have wireless payments, right? So if I go to a store in El Salvador, let's say a big computer store, like an Apple store or like or Walmart or Nike or whatever, then basically I have two options. It's credit card or cash.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And if I want to pay, is online shopping a thing in El Salvador? Do people do it?
Yeah.
And then they pay with credit card, probably.
Credit card, yes,
so,
for sure.
If we talk about fees, then what does it cost?
You get an airline ticket as well, you have to pay in credit card. Every time you pay it in credit card, they have like a fee, for you to use and for the shop to charge, So it's normally between 3 and 7% every time you use like your credit card.
So you only use a credit card when there is no other option.
Yes.
Right.
Normally, people here, it's like so deep into credit cards, that they owe everything, and the only way that they play with the cash and the credit cards, it's like get your life in credit card, and when you get your salary, you just pay for it.
Because they're in debt.
Sure.
It's
an endless
they
debt.
They have to pay the interest rates.
Taxes and everything. So it's a never-ending play or a never-ending game.
Is it going on for a lot of people?
Yes, it's like they are trapped.
All right. So let me get this straight. You have 65% who don't even have a bank account. So they also don't have a credit card.
No.
And then you have 35%, and of those 35%, a lot of them have trouble with their interest.
Sure, totally.
So how many percent of this country actually has a stable financial situation? Like, are we talking about 5%, 10%?
Maybe 10%, we say, for sure.
So basically 10%, those are the people that are able to have savings and think about a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Yes. In my space, in my scope, with my friends or people that I know, a few of them are so successful for sure, and they can afford, they have access to everything. But others struggle, and others are like in this endless game of having not savings. They have to use it all.
And
I don't use credit cards.
You use Bitcoin, so you understand.
Yeah.
So, but like you said, like the minimum salary is like 300. So, the 10% that we talked about, what would you consider a salary where you are? Like, is that 1,000? Is it 1,500? Like, or even 800?
Yeah, maybe as a family. We're going to talk about family, not as an individual. They could be in the rank of having like maybe between $3,000 and $5,000 per family per month.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
and that's like the 10%.
Sure, but in the 10%, there are people that could be like millionaire,
of course,
more than 5,000.
That's the 0.001%.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Wow, that's
having here $1,500 as a salary as well. It's 5 times the minimum wage, but it's like you could struggle as well with that money. More if you have a car and you have to put gas. And it's like food, or it's like increasing.
So Bitcoin could give people a bank account for the first time in their lives, and it could also give them a digital bank account for the first time in their lives, right?
Digital banking when they never had chance to even have a bank account, a conventional one.
An analog one,
so it's true.
Like, I want to touch upon one more thing before we go to El Zante and your practice, because I definitely want to talk about that. But a big thing that we heard a lot about are the remittances.
Yes.
Right? So El Salvador has around 7 million people, but 2 million extra El Salvadorans are living in the US.
Yes.
And they are sending money back home to their families.
Almost the 45% of our GDP. It's remittances.
Yeah, I saw that it's like $6 billion a year.
Yes.
And the GDP is like 24.
Yeah. From people living in the United States.
So
that flew away
during the war.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of podcasts about remittances. I heard a lot of people talk about it, but I would really want to know, did you ever get money from, or like, I don't necessarily want to know if you got money or something, but I want to know how it works. So if I am an El Salvadoran, I get money from my brother in the US.
Yes.
So he sends $100, or let's say he sends $500 a month. How does it work? How do we set it up? What does he have to do? What do I have to do?
Well, normally the most example that we have here is Western Union, for example. So he sent the money or a wire transfer.
Yeah.
And normally you have to go to a bank or to a place of this Western Union place, you know. Normally you have to go to a mall or a place that used to have this type of companies, yes, to these shops. The one who sent money has to pay a fee, you know, and sometimes you have to show your identification, who is sending you the money, for what, what you are from the guy who is sending money, where do you live, do you have a bank account, your ID, you know, the KYC situation, if you are not laundering money. So in my case, sometimes I have people sending remittances for a patient, and they want to pay me through remittances, you know. So they call me and they said, hey, I send you the remittance, so you have to go to Western Union.
So we're in El Zante now. Like, what is the closest?
The closest one, it's in El Puerto de la Libertad, that it's about 25 kilometers from here.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the closest one.
Yeah.
The nearest one, it's maybe 1 hour from here up in the city.
The nearest?
The nearest, if you don't go to El Puerto,
the
nearest or the closest one, it's 1 hour from El Puerto, for example. Or for here, you have to go to the city. And sometimes, if you have, some banks have a Western Union unit. But if you don't have a bank account for that specific bank, you cannot use it. You know? So you have to go to a main shop of Western Union.
And like, is it like you already said, sometimes you have to show your passport or your ID and
everything.
And
in my case, recent case, a guy sent me $30 in remittance to Western Union, and I couldn't get them still. I went there, you know, I take a line from 1 hour waiting line.
So let's get this. So you have to travel there?
Yes. I went
and then
there,
you have to wait.
I have waiting in the line 1 hour, and when I get to the guy, he requests my information, everything. He knows about the keywords that I have to know. But he said, hey, guy, your second name is misspelled. So I cannot do nothing. And I'm like, hey, but it's me, you have my ID, it's not the first time I came. But they said, oh, I can do nothing.
Yeah, it's like company policy. Rules,
Yeah.
computer says no, basically.
Yeah. So even if they know me, so it's nowadays I still have not that payment. And it's just, it's $30, it's something, you know?
Oh, of course.
We don't want to say that it's nothing, but for $30, I have a bunch of troubles and obstacles.
I mean, that's
Then
the
I
point.
still
Because
have
so
not the money.
you have to travel half an hour till an hour to actually get there. And then you have to stand in line. Like, is it normal to wait an hour in line?
Well, it's the way they work. Sometimes, if you are lucky, you could be just like 10 minutes there or 5 minutes and go through, right? But normally, it has a lot of filters, you know, to get this.
So it's not uncommon to wait half an hour or something to get your money.
Imagine me, but imagine someone else that has, or living in a remote area that has to go there, have to wait, and they could say no to you. You know,
it's crazy.
So it's quite crazy.
And those fees that you're like on the $30, like what is the common fee that like a regular transfer from the US to here?
If they sent me $30. I get $30 here, but for example, he has to put at least 38 or 40, you know, or between 35, 5 more or 10 more in order to get this to me.
Crazy.
Yeah. And we have Western Union in every part of the country, to say something, in major banks or shops that or departments in the country that they know it's full of people that live abroad, you know.
Of course.
It's strategically
and are there any serious rivals for Western Union except for Bitcoin? But like, do you have a possibility to use something different, or is it even more difficult
with Bitcoin?
No, I mean, like, right now you're talking about Western Union. You have to drive for an hour and you have to wait. Like, are there other companies that offer the same, or are they even more difficult?
Like, I could say they are the same.
Yeah.
They are the same since we use the dollar. It's a lot of filters and a KYC money laundering situation, even if it's just $10, you know. It's the same. We have Western Union, we have money transfer, we have cash something. We have several, you know, but mostly they are the same.
Yeah.
You know, and I have the same obstacles one time after another, you know, so every time it's not that easy. I have complaints more than I have good words for them.
So that's actually something where Bitcoin could be a solution.
Sure.
I talked to my taxi driver about it, and he said, I agree, but conversion rates for Bitcoin are also 10%. It's also really expensive to convert Bitcoin to dollars or dollars to Bitcoin. Is that something that you have experience with, or?
Well, I have sometimes troubles in get an exchange for a Bitcoin here. I found a few that they don't charge because maybe they know me and our friendship make us not to charge fees. I know, and I tried in the ATM here, and it's charging 5%.
Yeah, that's also expensive.
And we have, like, in the next door beach town, El Tunco, we have another like ATM, but this ATM it's charging $5 plus 7%.
Yeah,
you know, every time you use.
But that's something that the president with his Chivo wallet and Chivo ATM, he is promising that it's zero.
No fees, right?
So that should solve the whole problem.
Normally, and we thought it's going to be like this way. Yeah. You know, sometimes if you go to a bank or a cash or an ATM for a bank here, maybe you just have 3 chances
Yeah.
to use it and not being charged. After these 3 chances, for example, you are being charged 57 cents every time you are going to use the ATM again. So, well, going back to the question, it's like...
Yeah, no, so that the government is...
Oh, it's 0 fees.
Yeah.
It's going to... It's a good thing, you know?
Because that would because I can understand that, all right, people understand that remittances are expensive, and then that you can send Bitcoin immediately without transaction fees from the US to El Salvador. But if you then still have to go to an ATM and still have to pay 5%, then I understand that people say, yeah,
no,
this is the same situation.
Yeah,
and it's a volatile currency.
Yeah.
But if the government is saying you can use our ATMs and it's 0%, then all of a sudden it really becomes a better option for remittances.
Yes.
And that's really interesting. We will see how that how that moves on.
For example, normally we make payments from people in the United States for softwares, for example. This software for design in dental industry.
Yeah.
So we used to wire transfer the money for these people, and it takes from 2 days to 1 week to get the money. So we tried with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And we make like the transfer. It was like anonymous, instantaneous. And the fee for approximately $800 was a quarter.
Yeah.
So for me, it was phenomenal. You know?
I mean, if you that's even a step further. Like if you can actually pay with Bitcoin, then there are no conversion
for
fees.
me, it works.
Yeah.
You know, it worked and showed me like another world in having instantaneous payments without an extra fee. You know.
Like for remittances, that would also work because people from the US send remittances to El Salvador. But if you can pay with Bitcoin, then you don't have to convert it.
It's true. It's true.
That's the biggest thing. So what I wanted, last thing, because we have been talking for hours, and it's great. Thank you for it, because I think it's seriously, people that are listening are going to love this, because this gives a real insight in El Salvador.
Thank you for having me. I
no
hope
problem.
I'm gonna be like explain myself in a good way.
No, it's perfect. I wrote some stuff down because our most intelligent listeners would have already guessed that you are the dentist in El Salvador, you are a dentist in El Salvador, of course, but you are the dentist in El Zonte, and also the dentist that raised more than a Bitcoin to actually give back the people their smile.
Yes,
that lost their smile, right?
Yes.
And I wrote it down, so I have to say it correctly. It's like bitcoinsmiles.org.
Sure.
You can still donate if you're listening. We are, I can say this spontaneously. Like we get donations for the podcast. Every donation that we get from the day that this podcast is aired until the next episode, so the week between, we will donate that.
Thank you so much for your help.
No problem. I think it's a really cool project. Can you, in like a few sentences, few minutes, describe like why did you do it? Like why is it needed? What is the project? And why the hell do you need a whole Bitcoin? Like why do you need so much?
Okay, I came here to El Zonte 17 years ago. That is like a small village in the Pacific coast of El Salvador. We are surrounded by impoverished communities, you know. Normally, these impoverished communities have lack of access to education, lack of access to a formal job or a good salary. And it's more difficult to get access to dental care or health care, you know. So when I was here doing my internship to get my degree as a doctor, in on 2005, I decided to fund or to establish a small practice here in El Sonte, knowing firsthand, the condition of these people, the way they live, and like the big heart they have, and the hard workers they are, and beautiful souls they are.
Just to state the obvious, they don't have health insurance.
No,
Like not even close. Right?
Maybe they never went to the dentist.
Yeah,
or maybe
but that's real teeth problem.
Sure, it's like irreversible stages, like pretty difficult cases, and for sure it's like sometimes the remaining of the tooth they have, it's like it's difficult to explain, and they were like difficult cases as well. So these people, I decided to establish a small practice here.
So that was how long ago?
2005.
2005.
Yes.
Yeah. So the internship, and then after a year
during
or something,
my internship,
you were like, all right, this is the place to be.
I just established my practice, and I said I'm going to become a dentist, so I want to be here. In that moment, I was working as a radio broadcaster. I have 3 different jobs in the city. I have responsibilities up there and my life up there. But I wanted an escape. I wanted to get rid of my obligations up there. And I was seduced by the ocean. I was seduced by the surf. And for sure, the community. So I decided to work till this moment, 2005. And I continued through these whole years, So we provide a good quality dental practice.
To El Sonte.
Yes, to El Sonte and the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
I used
because you're the only dentist in the area?
Yes.
In the area of like
in
50,
the area,
60 kilometers, like...
Yes, it's like in this area, I'm the only one. I have a coverage of about 12,000 people. El Sonte has 3,000 people. 3,000, just this a small town.
But do you have like other people working at your practice?
No, it's just by myself. It's just by myself. I am the helper. I'm the learner.
The receptionist, the dentist.
I'm used to work like this.
In the Netherlands, when you go to the dentist, you first have the receptionist.
Yes.
She says, "Go sit down, please," and the dentist will get you. And then the dentist assistant will get you, and she will check your mouth a little bit and your teeth.
Yes.
And then the boss dentist comes and he checks and all right, it's fine. In your case, all 3 is you.
Yes, by myself.
Wow.
For sure, I have collaborators, local collaborators that help me to make the house calls as well, because sometimes I have to walk 2 hours, 3 hours up to the mountain to make the house calls and things like that. But normally it's by myself. So El Sonte has 3,000 people approximately, but the surrounding areas, brothers or from El Sonte, we have 11 small towns. That it's like approximately 12,000 with the 3,000 from El Sonte. So it's like maybe the coverage it's for this whole area. But it's the nearest and closest place that they can come, for example. So I made this. So I started to work with orphanages as well, churches here in the Pacific.
So orphanages of children, right?
Yes, sure. And that's what I decided to say here as a way of living. Be part of this community and providing good quality dental practice to people that never imagined it's going to have this quality practice.
But it's
a humble practice, but with quality.
That's I saw the pictures and I mean it looks clean and and you have like the basic needs of a dentist
the
practice,
basic needs,
right?
yes.
So,
sure.
but what I can imagine is like the people with really bad dental conditions, like, or let's give an example of myself. Like, I didn't went to a dentist for years because I didn't want to. I don't like going to the dentist, and the longer you don't go, the more difficult it becomes to actually go.
Sure.
Anyway, they had to do a couple of things, and they said, I mean, this is more expensive because you didn't go.
Yeah.
Right, and that's in my case, right?
Yes.
That's not even closely comparable to what some of the people here have. So, what I can imagine, if they come to you with those conditions, with $300 that they earn in a month, $500 that they need to pay.
No, they cannot. Never ever get access to dental care.
But I also have, I mean, we've talked a couple of times this week and also tonight. Like, I don't see you as the guy that says, "All right, sorry, I can't help you."
Yes, it's like it's pretty bad.
So you help them.
Yes, normally I cover the fees for people that doesn't or cannot.
Yeah.
You know, I have nothing, but for sure I have the opportunity to serve these people, so I try to help at all costs. If I don't cover like the fees, I try to decrease my fees to have a symbolic fee, you know, or there are foreigners that come to the clinic as well, and they could pay for a fair charge or a fair fee, and we could help people that cannot afford it, you know. So it's not about prestige, you know. It's not about making a lot of money. It's about serve people that never had a chance. In this case, for a dental treatment.
Yeah, and that's also what the Bitcoin Smiles.
Yes, the initiative
project is about. Sorry,
it's Bitcoin Smiles. You know, it's an initiative from BTC Pay Server and Bitcoin Design.
So how did they find you?
It was like, it's funny, because when President in El Salvador announced that they are going to make Bitcoin as a legal tender, it's like starting a lot of people get interested in El Salvador, you know. So on Twitter, I met a couple of people from Turkey in this case, and this guy was looking for someone who teach him Spanish or to provide him Spanish classes. So I sent him a request and telling him that I could like help him with the Spanish classes. When he started the lessons, it's quite funny because the lessons, it's like every class I provide, I just get a donation.
Yeah.
Could be $5, $10, $15, whatever. But every donation I have from the Spanish classes, it's for helping these people.
Yeah.
And he knew about my initiative, and he said, "So you are doing this for helping people, like giving you a Spanish classes?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Oh wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in helping you more."
Yeah.
He said, you know. So we've been like talking for several weeks. He was like really interested as well to know about the country, to know about the economics, to know the real history or the alternative history about what we could talk about it.
Yeah.
And so from that, I started to talk with more like Bitcoiners or Bitcoiners from the community. So in this order, I just met other people, and I met Pavlinix in this case, that it's from BTC Pay Server, you know. And he talked to me, and he started to talk about an initiative.
Yeah.
So after 3 months, we've been talking about it. We just created, you know, and that's why.
Can you put a little bit closer?
And that's why. Oh, sorry. Okay. That's why we launched like this initiative. You know, it has almost 1 month, But the initiative was like to get 1 Bitcoin in order to provide critical dental care for the older people of the community.
Yeah, like 50 of them.
Yeah,
right?
it's 50. The budget, it's like fit for 50, maybe more, because we have like a team that it's going to provide their services with no charge. We are going to pay just for like the materials, but we are going to provide critical dental care and dentures, prostheses from the best quality, you know. So these people has nothing to envy to no one in the world, or they never imagined that
they would.
Someone is going to provide them with this quality of help or dental care, for example.
Provide them with a smile, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin smiles.
Yeah.
It's like started with the most like iconic patient I had. You know, that it's a hard worker, construction worker that has, it's more than 60 years old. He never went to the dentist and he has no teeth. We have to remove like 23 rotten tips he had, modeling its bone. So it was like Bitcoin magazine published an article from this guy that he was saving in Bitcoin, and he had a Bitcoin smile because of his savings. And that was the start of all this initiative. And after this patient, many people came to the clinic looking for help, you know. And for sure, it's people that it's getting their salaries in Bitcoin in this community, and they know now the value of money and the value of saving money, in this case in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So the initiative, it's about helping the forgotten people of the community, and we mean forgotten, referring elder people that is living in remote areas that have their family in the States, you know, things we've been talking about. And they are by themselves, you know, working the farm, the small things, you know. But normally they were looking for dental care, and they offering you a hand or a pound of beans or whatever they have in their reach in order to get access, you know. It's about human being helping other human beings. That's the initiative, basically.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. So now we're like a little bit more than a month from the start.
The initiative stopped, you know. It runs for 14 days. But after these 14 days, that we get like the Bitcoin, that it was our soft cap goal, you know. But the initiative, these people decided to remain active, you know. So in order to get like maybe donations to improve our equipment, you know, and to improve our place, or to amplify the scope of the people we are going to work.
1.15 at this point.
1.15 in this case.
832 people that contributed.
Yes, and it's this current time. You could check as well the lightning payments in current time. So if you going to donate, you could check.
Yeah, you see, I saw that because I donated myself.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Before I even came here, so it's actually, just. I mean, that kind of shows the
more than 90% of the payments were lightning.
Yeah.
Yes. So if we overpass like the Bitcoin, we have like a remnant. We have a little bit more. We're going to get equipment to help us to go to the rural areas and work from there.
Work remote.
Working remotely, you know. So it's the initiative, and we are planning to help 50, but we are going to help more. So it's going to be even surprising the
Yeah,
amount of what we are going to help.
I mean, hopefully, like the price goes up a little bit of Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it would be like, and of course, like if you immediately need it, then you need it. So as simple as that. But like the dream scenario would be that it will become some kind of how do you like the savings, right? That you can hold it, and if you need something, you get it.
Yeah.
But because Bitcoin grows, because the price grows, you never have to empty it.
Yes, it's true. So we could amplify more people.
Exactly.
And that's the thing, it's Bitcoin in this case is tangible.
Yeah.
We are helping.
Yeah.
These people, it's like getting access to a good and service that they never imagined.
Yeah.
They, even if they know how to read or to write, they know how to use a smartphone, we could like share as well a little bit, help with them. If we have a natural disaster, for example, we could do it instantly on their smartphones, So it's a life-changing situation we are living right now. The community, it's improving in this case, and it has like the chance to improve more, you know. So time will tell.
Yeah, I think
for sure.
I think that's
getting and providing some dignity to these people and confidence through dental care. It's making them having a Bitcoin smile, but in this case, dignity to have a better life.
Yeah.
So it's what we are doing with the initiative. And for example, I'm by myself. I was telling you that I'm by myself, but I have a crew that it's backing me up.
Yeah.
And I do have to say right now that we have booked a couple of volunteers that are coming on November.
Yeah.
A retired dentist and dentists that are like active working right now, and they are going to help us as a volunteer.
Fantastic.
Working with the patients on
That's
November.
great.
So this is
gonna
grow.
We will keep in touch. We will definitely want to hear, like. How the project goes.
Yes.
I also think we talked about that, like it would be great to hear from you, like how the situation in El Salvador is, how the Bitcoin law is, how it's going with the law, how it's just our eyes on the ground, our eyes and ears on the ground. And like I said, I think it was a fantastic conversation. Me personally really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think these kind of things, because like in the Netherlands or in the Western countries or in Europe, like we never heard of El Salvador until 2 weeks ago. Then we read 2 things on Wikipedia, and then we think we know everything. And then on top of that, we will come up with solutions and tell you how to run your country, right? I've seen that in the news, and also me myself as a Bitcoiner was like, Bitcoin, that's good for you. And now being here and talking to you, that actually it's humbling that you take a step back and you're like, I don't know nothing about this country, and it's way more complicated than I thought it was. So that really helps, giving me more information, giving me more knowledge, and maybe that could help me become a better person. So I'm really thankful for that. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you for having me and for the chance in your platform.
No problem. And you will have another chance and another one, because we will keep in touch for 100%. For the people listening, it's www.bitcoinsmiles.org.
Yes.
And also, to reiterate, all the donations that we get on the podcast for this week, we will send to the Bitcoin Smiles initiative. So it would be really cool if we can get them to 1.25 or 1.20. That would be
sounds perfect.
Be awesome. We will try to get there.
Thank you for you and for people that it's like helping us in this way to
Yeah.
bitcoinsmiles.org.
No problem. It's the least we can do. Seriously.
For sure, we are letting you know about how it's going on, the initiative, and we are going to update about our work.
Yeah.
So welcome to El Salvador, Bart.
Yeah.
And we
Thanks,
have
Enrique.
the
Thanks.
arms open for you
Thank you.
all the time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It was
Bro.
a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and until next week. And I always also, before El Salvador, I always say adios.
Adios.
Adios, amigos.
Salud.
Salud.